All righty, Coach Day, thank you very much for spending a little time here. We'll go through one question at a time. We should be able to get everybody. So let's start first with Dave Biddle. Dave, go ahead.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, Ryan. I know you love these types of questions, but I'm going to ask one anyway. Can you go through some guys maybe that haven't played much for the Buckeyes during their career so far that have really caught your eye so far this spring?
Oh boy. Yeah, like you said, I don't know, where do I start? And then I'll leave somebody out. So that's why I don't like these questions. There's been, let me kind of go through and look here. There's a lot to go over. So it'd be hard. I'd love to kind of do that, but I know I'm going to leave somebody out and someone's going to get upset or whatever. So I'll just leave it at this. I think a lot of guys are getting better because we're practicing. And the one thing that's been great is when you get to this part of spring, which we really haven't got to this part. What I mean by that is we've had some newness, we've had some practices, but like this stretch that we've had is where you get better. Where it's not the spring game, it's not the beginning of camp, it's hard, it's work, we're working through, some guys are bumped and bruised, and this is where you get better. And so guys are getting better across the board. So I apologize, Dave. I just don't want to call anybody out because then I'll forget somebody and they'll get upset.
I thought I'd take a chance.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All good.
All right, we'll go next to Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Ryan, what have you seen from Marvin Harrison Jr. this spring that made him the first offensive freshman to lose his stripe this year?
A lot of discipline, excellent attention to detail with his routes. Somebody who cares a lot. He's in here after hours. He's here early in the morning. He takes a lot of pride in his work, and he's making plays. Again, just a freshman who has a long way to go, but early impressions have been excellent.
All righty, next up, Steve Hillwagen, 247.
Hey, Coach. Interesting watching the quarterbacks. We got to see a little bit of the red zone drill today, and seemed like they were making some pretty good progress there. And Harrison on the receiving end and Wilson both seemed like they were heavily involved down there. Just how critical is it, finishing off drives? I know that was an issue at times in the past. I don't know, what's your thought, I guess, about how those guys are progressing in that important phase of the offense?
It's a huge part of the offense, as you know, in our plan to win. We have to score touchdowns in the red zone, and the only issue we run into around here on offense when we haven't been able to score when we get down there, like you're saying. But overall, I would say when you look at Dwayne and Justin, they've been excellent down there. When you look at the numbers they've had throwing touchdowns, you look at some of those touchdown passes in the Clemson game last year with Justin, just tremendous down there. So we know that that's huge in the plan to win. And so we spend some time down there, and we have good targets. It's hard when you get in the red zone. There's not as much room. So big bodied receivers are good. They're good targets. Ruckert's a big target down there. And the quarterbacks have to get a feel for where they're going with the ball. Sometimes everybody's covered and you have to throw it where only they can catch it. And it's frustrating early on because usually the defense is ahead of the offense down there. You just keep working and working and working, and over time you get it. So it's always an area of emphasis, but we do have some good targets down there, and the quarterbacks, the more reps they get at it, the better they'll be.
All righty, next we'll go to Austin Ward from Leonard Monroe.
Hey, Ryan, and this may be a small detail in the long run, but when you have an opportunity like today at right tackle, what goes into the thinking to leave Paris inside and let Dewan go out there? How do you, why manage it that way? What went into that thought process?
Yeah, we move guys around all the time, and Paris has been doing a great job at guard, but at any point we can move him over as well. And Dewan's played some guard, so Enoch Viamahe's moved around some. So we'll just kind of keep moving and shaking, and what we do one day will change the next, because the versatility is a huge value for us. And so we kind of interchange those guys. Thayer's done some different things over his career. Matt Jones has moved around. So it's just something that Stud will kind of mix and match as the spring goes on to get those guys some reps, because you just never know where guys could be. And so we do like the fact that Paris is making great progress at guard. So I think that today he just wanted to keep him there to keep growing, and he's been doing well there. So didn't want to make a move, and But who knows? That could change tomorrow.
Alrighty, next up, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Ryan, when you have two guys as talented as Garrett and Chris, and you saw the production from them last year, it seems like they kind of can't get any better. Where have you seen those two progress? Because it seems like we're just we know how good they are. We don't need to ask about them, but they're probably still making progress, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of work to be done. Playing on edges, being more physical, attention to detail and route running, finishing plays with the ball. There's spacing out routes in zone. There's a lot of areas there. Blocking, huge. So a lot to work on. And that's, again, we have a year of a deficiency, in my opinion, across the board of development. So we're playing catch up right now. We just are. And last week has been great. But one thing that's for sure is we got light years to go. We got to get better in the fundamentals and the techniques of playing. We just have some young guys, which we do every year, and that's a good thing. The good news is they're talented, but we got to keep playing football. And the more we can play, the better off we're going to be. And those are two guys who have played a lot of football here, but still a lot of improvement in different areas. And Coach Hart has made that clear, the different emphasis areas. But across the board, we've been saying in the spring we want to get better fundamentally and technique-wise. There's nobody who's above getting better in those areas. I mean, shoot, there's 10, 12-year vets in the NFL that need to improve in different areas. And so we'll just keep challenging them to get better.
All righty, we'll go next to Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Ryan. Obviously, this is the last week of spring practice. You've probably been able to make some kind of determinations. What are the things, maybe one thing you're happiest about, one thing you're still most concerned about, and maybe a couple things you really want to see Saturday?
Yeah, let's see. Most happy about, I would say, is our attitude, the effort. I think that we've done a good job recruiting. So I think we have some talent. I really like the guys, just in terms of their leadership, the way that their energy is on the field. I think the biggest concern I would have is just that, we're, in terms of playing the game, we missed a whole half a season last year. Again, we didn't have a preseason and we didn't have bowl practice, all those things. We're behind playing the game. There's just so many guys last year that missed a lot of reps. And, we miss those linebackers. We miss, we're going to miss Justin. We're going to miss, some veteran guys that not only had great leadership, but just had they played a lot of football around here. Luke Farrell played a lot of football. So that's my concern, especially when we go into the season, because we jump right into conference play with Minnesota and then quickly turn around and play Oregon at home the first two games of the season. So I'd say probably that's my biggest concern. As we get into the spring game, things I want to say, just improvement, just continually getting better. And I wish we had another 15 practices here in May, but we don't. So once spring practice is over, there's a couple discretionary weeks in there. We get through finals. Guys kind of rest up a little bit, and then we jump into the summer, and we got to hit the ground running. We can't lose any days, any weeks as we head into August.
Thank you.
All righty, we'll go next to Patrick Murphy, 247.
Ryan, Nathan asked you about Marvin Harrison, but Travion Henderson also lost his black stripe. What have you guys seen from him? What was the thinking there, showing you that he was ready to have that taken off?
Yeah, still really young, didn't play last year, hasn't played football in a while. That's the other thing. He and a few of other guys who are young, freshmen last year he didn't play high school ball. So, and then some of the guys who didn't play this past year who are sophomores, but he has done a good job. He's had a good attitude. He's got a good work ethic. He's done everything right so far. Now he's still got to, play more and learn, and every day. He needs 1 million reps, but the talent is there. The work ethic is there. I think he's going to have a really bright future here. He's done everything we've asked him to do so far. He's flashed at times already. So excited to see what that looks like during the spring game.
All righty, we'll go next to Tim May from Letterman Row.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike. I was wondering, Ryan, do y'all work on sort of a flow chart through the spring about you want to be here at this point? And I know there are little hiccups that come along the way, but how far are you along on that flow chart? It looks like you're talking about this week, y'all are actually getting some things done. You moved more into the playing football part. But and then number two, format wise, Saturday, what's it going to be like? Have you thought about that yet?
Yep. Yeah, great question. I think every year is different. And I think this year is different than any year that I've been here. And it's been such a focus on fundamentals and techniques and all those things, and not really so much about anything else. And even our older guys, they're playing a lot of football. And so we wanted to focus on that early on. And then, like you said, as we got into the second phase of spring ball, we want to start playing more football, some situational things, and start to get these guys these reps to kind of callus them up and toughen them up, and really get a feel for the game and diagnose plays on defense and get the right fits on offense, those type of things. So where are we at? I don't know in that process. It's still the question that keeps you up at night. In terms of Saturday, I think the plan right now is, and a lot of it has to do with injuries, guys, being sick or whatever. But I think the idea is that we're going to break up the team to a scarlet and gray, at least for a half of football, and then and try to play that the best we can. Whether we tackle or not, that's yet to be determined. We'll decide that probably midweek. But at the very least, we'll do a thud and split the team up and play at least a half of football. And then we may need to get some guys out of there and then kind of go into the second half in a little bit more of a controlled scrimmage atmosphere.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
All righty, next up, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, as far as the quarterbacks go, I know this comes up every week, but any separation at all? It seemed like CJ is still going first in those quarterback drills, although it just may be the day that we're watching.
No, we've been rolling that. And guys have had good days. Guys have had not so good days. Guys have good reps, not so good reps. And that's what happens when you have young quarterbacks. There's a lot to improve on with all three guys. They need 1 million reps. And no, I mean, the minute you think one guy's taking a step forward, he does something foolish, and then somebody else will make a play, and then they're coming on, and then it flips the other way. So, but that's expected, and you know that going in. And the other part of it, I think they've done a good job, though, is they're not trying to force the action. They're not trying to win the job every day, and that's huge. So there's been good progress there, but still a long way to go.
All right, next up, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Hey, Ryan, now that the precedent has been set for 2 questions, no, I'm kidding. Answer either one of these. What's your advice for Eddie George becoming a head football coach? What doesn't he know? Or what's the percentage in Justin Fields having another workout for the 49ers after he performed so well in the pro day?
So what are the chances that he'll have
are you talking about Eddie George?
No, about Justin, you said.
Justin, should he embrace another chance to throw this week, I guess, against the 49ers? Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Justin's he's going to do whatever people ask him to do, and if there's an opportunity to get in front of more guys to go throw, then I'm sure he's going to embrace that. That's just the way he is. No, in terms of Eddie George, I saw that yesterday. I was really excited for him. He and I have had some great interactions, and he'll do great. He will. I mean, it's coaching is a challenge in different areas, but he loves football, and I think a lot of young men will be impressed with his background, and I think he's got a lot to offer the game. So excited to see how that goes.
Thank you.
All righty, we'll go next to Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Scoop.
Ryan, regarding Jackson Smith and Jigba, where is he in relation to the Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson kind of trajectory? Because we saw him out there with the ones, and we know how good he was as a freshman. Is he in that same progression?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that he had a good year last year, but now he's got to take the next step. We want him to be in the mix with the first group, and he can do so many great things. It just needs to be more consistent, but we're excited about this year. He's had a good, solid spring. He needs to now have a great summer so we can have a great preseason going into the year. But he flashed. He made some really nice catches today. I think he's really coming on. Done a nice job blocking on the perimeter which is huge for us. That was a huge emphasis coming off of last year that we've got to improve on. We're hoping that he takes the next step.
Hey, Ryan, that was the first football practice I watched in a year, so I'm all like juiced up about everything. So I'm asking an upside question, not an improvement question. With Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jeremy Ruckert, the talent they have, the number of snaps they've played, you know, you watch those guys, you could put those guys in an NFL camp and they could compete if they had wanted to do that. What's the possibility for an offense with three veterans with that talent? I mean, you've watched their whole careers, you've watched them this spring. I know there are things they can still get better at, but what could happen when you have three guys like that coming back for a season?
Well, there's pluses and minuses to everything. I think the positive is we have a lot of weapons, and it's going to be hard for teams to single up man to man certain situations, any of those guys, because they can be a mismatch. The negative is, I think they all want the ball. And so understanding that we're a team, there's only one football, and doing a great job when the ball's not in your hands is critically important. And we can't be selfish, and I think that the great teams who have had really great talent, they're team players and they are unselfish. And if they just keep working hard, they're all going to get theirs. And we have a young quarterback. So helping the young quarterback, whoever it is, giving him great pictures, making sure that they're doing all the little things to make his life easier, to give him confidence, especially early in the season, is going to be critically important. But like you said, there's great opportunity here, with that group, because they are all, like you said, are good players and have a chance to be great players. But you have to put it on the field every week, and they're practicing. That's the other thing I really appreciate about them. Chris has been a little sick here and there, but those guys have been practicing for the most part. Ruck's been out there, and Garrett's been out there. Jameson Williams been practicing really hard. Jackson's been practicing. The young guys are out there, and if they keep practicing, they're just going to keep getting better. And that's the thing that they bought into, which we got to keep growing on here in the spring. It's getting better.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
All righty, next we'll go to Bill Landis from The Athletic.
Hey, Ryan, one quick one for you first, and then a longer one. Just on Nick Petit, is he a short-term, long-term deal? Is there any reason for him not being out there today?
Yeah, short-term. It's a short-term.
Okay. And then more generally with your offensive line, it seemed like that was a huge emphasis for you when you took over, not only adding more guys, but obviously developing the depth there too. 2 years into this, just how do you feel about where you are with that group?
I feel great. I think we have a really good depth. We have a good group in that room. I think Stud's done a really good job of recruiting, and we have different shapes and sizes, and also have some versatility in there. And that's the other group we have right now. I think we have over 20 guys in that room with walk-ons and scholarship guys, and only 5 can get on the field. And so understanding that it's a team effort, and we're going to possibly roll some guys this year because we have a lot of talented dudes in that room. And so anyways, I think that things are going well. We got to continue to develop some of the guys in there. That we have developed some guys into being good players, and it's fun to see where that's headed here this year, because I think we have a chance to have a really good room.
All righty, let's go next to Dan Hope from 11 Warriors.
Hey, Ryan, just specifically about Kyle McCord, as a guy going through his first spring as a true freshman, just what are the biggest areas in which you've seen him grow from when he came into his first practice to now going into this final week of a spring?
I just think it's getting more and more reps and trying to get better with each play. The thing you can't do is you can't run every single play to all different coverages every practice. So what you have to do is you have to be able to play the plays in your mind and play with an imagination, put the work in off the field. Because if you can solve some of those problems on your own, not just when you walk in the building and when you're out of practice, you're going to accelerate your learning. And I think he's done a good job of that. I think he can continue to get better at it because that's a huge part of the game. When we talk about some of the best in the game right now in the NFL, when you talk about the people who had the most success with the Bradys and the Breezes and Rodgers and Russell Wilson, and to me, the thing that they've mastered is they know where they're going with the ball before it really even happens. When that ball hits their hands, they know where it's going for the most part. They've already played the game in their head. and they can make it look really easy. If you're catching the ball and trying to figure it out, or you're reacting, or you haven't thought through what your contingency plan is on a play, and you caught the ball and you haven't thought about it, and you're trying to figure out, well, if the corner comes on this blitz as you catch it, now what do I do? Not good. And so, we've been challenging the quarterbacks with that, and Kyle's done a good job so far. I mean, there's no way to speed up the process other than, do what we're talking about. So off to a good start, has a bright future. But like anything else, it's just going to take reps.
All righty, we'll go next to Jeremy Birmingham, Leonard Monroe.
Hey, Ryan, with confidence seeming to get, higher every day that the dead period's coming to an end at the end of May, has the NCAA given you guys any sort of guidance on what to expect with respect to camps and how you get to evaluate players that you haven't seen? I mean, I'm not even talking about like visits and, the social things, but for actual player evaluation, what is the mindset or the approach heading into June?
Well, there's been a lot of talk, like you're saying, and heard different conversation about possibly being able to have some unofficial visitors on campus, limit that per day, and then possibly being able to actually work them out on a one-on-one basis while they're on campus. And so, we're just kind of waiting to see what that's going to look like. I know that there's been talk about doing official visits in June. And so we're kind of trying to plan accordingly and just wait for the green light on all that stuff.
All righty, we got time for about 3 more. We'll go first to Whitney Harding. Whitney.
Hey, Ryan, big news last week that fans are going to be allowed at the spring game. How exciting is this going to be for the guys? And also, how great is that as another preparation step to have those distractions in there and that extra juice that they're going to have to learn to temper?
Yeah, it's going to be an adjustment phase again. We had to adjust with no fans, and then we kind of got used to that. Now we have to adjust to having fans again. So it's fun, though. Thank goodness that we're able to get some people in the stands. Looking forward to have our guys play in front of a crowd and get back to some normalcy here. So we're very, very excited about that. And it's going to be. We're hoping that we can get a packed house here. When Oregon comes to town, based on how this all shakes out here in the state, because that's a huge deal for us. That's a huge advantage. And I know our guys are excited about it, but like you said, there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment again, getting people back in the stands. And I know our guys love that because they're all show offs. That's what I call them.
Thanks.
All right, we'll go next to Sean Dunnigan, WBNS.
Hey, Ryan, is this team where you expected them to be this far, this little bit into spring practice as you get ready for the spring game on Saturday?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think I've had expectations. You always want to be further along than you are, always. So as a coach, you're always going to, go home and be like, man, I wish we were better in this area. I wish we were better over here. I wish we were better over there. And I feel like that all the time. So, but that's part of being a coach. And I want to be further along, but I do think a lot of progress has been made and it's been a good spring.
All righty, and our final question for today goes to Stephen Means, Cleveland.com. Stephen, go ahead.
Brian, I'm sorry if this is kind of a weird question, but you guys get a lot of talent in here, 5-star, top 50, whatever type of players in here. But when guys get here, do you see, I don't know, a common theme with guys who maybe just because there's talent, but then there's ready to play as a true freshman?
Right.
Kind of like with Jackson and Julian last year. Those are 2 really talented guys, but one just seemed a little bit more ready from day one. Do you see any common theme across any position where that is kind of the case of guys who are maybe equal in talent, but one might just be a little bit more ready for college football?
It's a great question. It's something I'm going to take a couple of minutes to talk about because, like you said, when you come to Ohio State, typically you're highly recruited, and there's an expectation that comes with that. Sometimes for the player, but a lot of times for the parents and the people back home and the public. And to me, when guys come in, the number one thing they have to worry about is getting developed. That's it. And what one person's timetable is may be different than someone else's timetable, whether it's because of where they grew up, how they grew up, what they were exposed to, their physical makeup, their mental makeup, maybe it's the position room. Who knows? there's a lot of things that come into play, and there's a fine line. You have to not wait around for anybody and have urgency to get on the field, but then you also have to have this thing. Well, I know I have to get better every day, and have the mindset that I have talent, but I have to create skill and discipline in my life, and that's the goal. And I think sometimes guys can get a little derailed because they want it right now. They want to play and get on the field right now and go. And sometimes they're ready, sometimes they're not. The faster they develop, the faster they create skill and discipline, the faster they get on the field. And that's really what it comes down to. And I think, when you see a lot of guys leaving and transferring from different schools and all that going on, that trend going on in college football, I think at the end of the day, it has to come down to where do I want to develop? And that's where recruits have to go, is where they think they're going to develop the most. And when they get there, that's got to be the focus. It can't be how fast do I get on the field? Well, put that over here. All right, here's the process to get there. It isn't just going to happen. Poof, you're going to get on the field. You have to spend time and you have to work at it. And everybody has a different journey along the way. And you look at different stories of guys that maybe it took 5 years, maybe it took 1 year, maybe it took 2 years, maybe it took 4 years. Everyone's on a different way. And I think sometimes it's hard because they feel the pressure from the outside, whether it's through social media or their family or friends or people back home. And I think that's a big challenge for our guys here. Because the good news is there's great exposure here and great platform for our players. But at the same time, there's a little bit of that pressure that goes on there. So I'm glad you asked the question, because sometimes these guys just need the room to grow, and understanding that sometimes it takes time. But on the other side of that, let's not wait around. Let's try to get on the field as fast as you can.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach Dave, very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.